in this video, I'm going to be teaching you guys about args and kwargs in Python, and then I'm going to play games after I make this video. So let's go ahead and create a function. Let's call this function add numbers. And let's go ahead and write down num1 and num2. If I were to, what is that? If I were to print out the sum of both of these numbers, we can print out num1 plus num2. And that would work, right? And if I wanted to call the function, I would write down add numbers and put in my two arguments that suit the parameters. So in this case, there's two parameters, therefore I put in two arguments. So if I wanted to add 5 and 6, we add 5 and 6 to get 11, and I actually printed out 11. Now, here's the thing about this. If we want to add three numbers, we would have to put num1, num2, num3, num4, num5. Right? If I were to add these, I would write down this, I would write down this, plus num4, and plus num5. And then I would have to write down 7, 4, 2, or something like that, and then it would print out the sum. Now here's the thing about this function right now. It's completely limited by the amount of parameters that I have in here. We can only add 5 numbers here. We can't add 6 numbers, 7 numbers, even 2 numbers now, because if we put in 2 inputs into our function, there's 5 parameters, but 2 arguments, right? So num3, num4, and num5, they don't have any of the values, but we're still adding them. We're going to get an error, right? You can't just add something with no values. So this function is specifically made to add 5 numbers. Now, how do we make this a little more flexible? By using args. So instead of writing down specific parameters, I can write down args, star args more specifically, and do not forget the star. And then I can print out the sum of the args. Now, this sum is just a simple built-in function. If you input an iterable in here, then, or a tuple or a list, as an example of an iterable, just anything with indices, then it just adds all the numbers inside of the iterable. Now, if I were to write down, let's say, an input 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 is now in args. So if I were to run this, it works. Although there's only a single parameter, args, and we have 3 arguments, the function still works. We still added 1, 2, 3 to get 6. Now, what's actually going on here? Let's go ahead and print out args. So if I write down a string, args, colon, and I were to print out args, if I were to print out the type, the data type of args, let's see what happens. So we print out the sum first, and then we print out the args after we put args colon, correct? This is simple. This is just a simple string, and then we put the variable args after it. Technically, we print 1, 2, 3, which were our inputs. 1, 2, and 3 were our inputs or our arguments into our function. And then right here, the type, the data type of args is a tuple. So what does args do? Whatever you put into the input of the function, it stores it as a tuple called args. Yes, this right here is a tuple. Star args saves your 3 inputs as a tuple. Or in a tuple, not as a tuple, I guess. Now, let's go ahead and put more values. 8, 9, 89, I guess 8, 9, 6, 2, right? This still works. I put 6 inputs, and all of it is simply just in a tuple called args. Now keep in mind, the name args doesn't really matter. Okay? This is just simple convention. Usually people put star args so that you know that it's an arg when you're calling it inside of the function, or when you're using the variable inside of the function. You can change this to whatever you want. You can change this to Jupiter for whoever knows what reason. And then I can put Jupiter, replace all the args with Jupiter, and it works the same. Still print out the same thing. So what matters isn't the name, but the star. A single star stands for an arg. And if you were to put a single star with any variable name after it, when you use this variable, okay, with the star in front of it, inside of your function, it is treated as a tuple. And you can actually determine this when I print out, let's say I wanted to print out 1, I can write down args, and I can use the index 0 to print out 1. And there it is. Now keep in mind, if you don't know what a tuple is, I have a video on that in my Python playlist, and I have a link of the Python playlist down in the description if you want to check out that video. But tuples are basically just lists, but unchangeable. You can't add anything, you can't remove anything to them, you can't switch any of the places of the values inside of the tuple. It's just an unchangeable list. All right, but they do have indices. So print arg0 prints out 1. What if I wanted to print out 89? Well, 89 is an index 3. And if I were to print out this, you would get 89. Right? So the tuple args works like any normal tuple or tuple, whatever you call it. It has indices and it's unchangeable. Now that's enough about args. Let's talk about kwargs. So let's delete everything here. And let's create this. Let's call it introduction. All right. Or let's call it about me, actually. Let's call it about me. And let's remove this right here. And let's change this guy right here to kwargs. So 2 stars in kwargs. And I'll explain what these 2 stars and the name kwargs means as well. But maybe if you could take a guess, it's pretty similar to what args is, the notation up here. But let's go ahead and print out. Let's go ahead and print out the kwarg, right? And let's put kwargs here so we can print it out. Now, when we call about me, right? When we call about me, we can write down, let's say, name. My name is Jitty. And let's go ahead and write down age. I am 19. And let's go ahead and say height. I like to say, okay, wait, height is a keyword argument, not a string. I like to say I am 7'2". I just like to say that. So 7'2". Okay. Now, if I were to print this out, we actually print out kwargs, right? And we end up printing out something with keys and values. So age, name, age, and height were the keys we put in here, or the keyword arguments in this case. And Jitty, 19, and 7'2" were the values we put into the keyword arguments. So what does kwarg stand for? Well, kwarg just stands for keyword arguments. Actually, it just stands for keyword args, right? KW, keyword, and then args. Just like the star args I previously talked about at the beginning of this video. But what does kwargs do? Whatever you put into your function call will be stored as a dictionary. So your keywords, name, age, and height, will be the keys of this dictionary, and the values you put in front of the keys will be the values in the dictionary. And if I were to actually print out the type, the data type that kwargs is inside of the function, you'd actually end up getting a dict, which is a dictionary for short. So a kwarg is a dictionary, and it stores the keys in the dictionary as the values, as the keyword, as the keywords. Oh no, what am I saying? As the keywords when you call the function. And the thing about kwargs is that it's completely flexible. You can put any amount of keyword arguments you want. Right, so let's go ahead and put down maybe something else about myself. Ethnicity. Ethnicity. I am Asian. And if I were to print out kwargs again, there it is, the ethnicity key and the Asian value. So kwargs, they store your keys, keyword arguments, as keys into a dictionary, and the values you put in front will be stored as the values associated with those keys. Pretty simple. Now, the thing about kwargs is that, again, you can name this however you want. You can name this self, right? And you can switch the variable names in the function from kwargs to self, and it still works as intended. Now, usually, again, typical convention, there's a lot of conventions in coding. You just want to name it kwargs, right? It's just a lot less confusing when you're calling the variable inside of the function. Instead of writing down self, people don't know what is self, right? If you're looking at a large program, what in the world is self? Or any other variable name. But if you put kwargs, people will know that this is a dictionary that doesn't matter about the amount of inputs you put into the function. Now the important thing is the 2 stars. The double stars refers to kwargs, and the single stars refers to an arg. Okay. Now, if you're a comedian, you would probably put the single star as kwargs, and you would put double star args, or if you're evil as well, if you're a villain. But this makes absolutely no sense. Do not do that. Just leave double stars and then call the variable kwargs, and then for args, just leave it with 1 star. Okay. Well, args have to be 1 star, and kwargs have to be 2 stars, but that's besides the point. It's whatever. If you want to actually print out everything in here, you can write down for key and value in kwargs dot items, right? Like a dictionary, and you can print out the keys and the values. The key and the values all together. And actually print out name Jitty, age 19, height 7'2", and ethnicity Asian. Now, if you don't know what this dot items does, my dictionary video talks about this in the playlist, in the Python playlist. So if you're not watching this video through the playlist, I suggest that actually, you know what, if you're clicking on this video, you're probably just confused about args and kwargs. What am I even talking about? You don't need to learn about printing. But this is what a kwarg is. It stores everything into a dictionary and does not depend on the amount of arguments. You can put as many as you want or as little as you want. Now, maybe some of you have thought about this. Some of you smart ones have thought about this. Not that you're not smart if you haven't thought about this. Maybe. But what if you put in args and kwargs together? How does this work? And what if you put in positional arguments? So let's go ahead and put down name. Right, name, name, table, what your table material is, and you put star arg, star kwargs. Well, this still works. So let's go ahead and print out name. Let's go ahead and print out table. And let's go ahead and print out the arguments with args after it. And let's go ahead and print out the kwarg with the kwargs after it. And this is supposed to be a comma. Now, if I were to call the function stuff, the thing about these positional arguments, name and table, is that they still matter. They depend on position. So you need to put these first in the proper order. So the name is Jitty, okay? And the table, my table is made of glass, so I put glass here. And args, now here's the thing about args, now you can put whatever args you want, okay? You can put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all right? And then you put the kwargs. So here's the thing. You need to put the args before the kwargs. So if I were to write down, let's say, whatever kwargs I want. Let's put down brain rot. Let's put some brain rot in here. Let's put meme 1, skibbity. And then meme 2, let's name it as, I have to think of one. It's hard. What's a 6-7? I've been saying that in my videos. But right here, you have name stored as Jitty, right? And actually, PyCharm is very nice to put the whatever parameter you're storing your variable in right in front of the variable. Name is stored as Jitty. Table is stored as glass. And the args are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And meme 1 and meme 2 are skibbity and 6-7. If I were to run this, it runs perfectly. Now here's the thing. What if you were to switch the place of this? If we were to switch the place of this, you get an error. And that's because technically kwargs depends on keyword arguments. And if you don't know this, your keyword arguments have to go after your positional arguments. Okay? Like Jitty and glass. And your args. Okay? So technically, your kwargs need to be, the parameter kwargs at least, needs to be after args. You cannot have args after kwargs. Same for table. You cannot put table after kwargs. This will not work. Yep, you get another error. It's underlined red. There you go. Arguments cannot follow a var keyword argument. Right. So another thing that you have to watch out for is putting your positional arguments after the args, or putting the args after positional arguments. So for example, let's go ahead and put 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 all the way at the beginning. Here's the thing now. 1 and 2 will be stored as name and table, and args will be stored as 3, 4, 5, Jitty, and glass. Right? So these positional arguments, or positional parameters, whatever you call it, depend on the order in which you wrote it when you call the function. And args and kwargs matters in that sense too, right? Because you cannot put, actually, let's see if you can do this. You cannot put keyword arguments before you put, yeah, look at this. This will not work. You just get an underlined red. You're just going to get an error, right? Positional argument follows keyword argument. You need to put all your keyword arguments after the args or your kwargs after the args. You cannot put these before anything else, okay? So these need to go at last. These need to go second, and your positional arguments such as name and table need to go first. All right, just keep that in mind. The order matters. I mean, like, I guess the error isn't really that big of a deal because it will just tell you. It'll tell this. The compilers, they'll just tell you exactly what line the error is happening. Like, it's pretty specific about what the error is. Like, positional argument follows keyword argument. Like, come on, who's not understanding that? But that's a pretty simple topic, I would say. Let's see, anything else to talk about? Nah. If you have any questions, put it in the comment section if you found this video helpful. Consider subscribing and liking the video. Thanks for watching.